I'm sure that my audience is really educated in Canadian history, so this is just going to be a brief overview, but you have the history of healthcare decision making and just like all legal decision making in Canada being made on behalf of Indigenous people and other marginalized people rather than in conversations with them. And some of the ideas that are coming to my mind are like the Indian Act, of course, and the provisions around healthcare. And then there's things like the Sexual Sterilization Act of Alberta, which was also done in BC, the history of Indian hospitals and sanatoria, residential schools. So when we look at the landscape of Indigenous healthcare in Canada, it's very much been I know what's best for you, and I see you as a lesser human being, and this is how I'm going to control your life to create my ideal society. And that's true for many groups. That's true for mentally ill people, physically disabled people, like immigrants. It's all connected. It's all there are unique provisions related to settler colonialism, but I see these issues as deeply, intimately connected. And then we just fast forward and we go to the modern day. The impacts are in education because, of course, until very recently, you had to surrender your Indian status to get an education at the university level. So the legacy of these inequities in education, in the ability to advocate for yourself in your healthcare by having this knowledge, we are still dealing with that. We are still dealing with Indigenous people who are terrified and traumatized from their experiences with healthcare providers. I have my own stories, even though I have a healthcare background in my education, even though I'm white passing, it still hasn't protected me in all scenarios. So we look at this is what we are dealing with. And I think that the ways that we have to address this is we start out by seeking Indigenous people and compensating them very fairly, both for their knowledge as Indigenous people and for the professional experience they bring. And once you kind of bring in the first level of Indigenous experts to consult with you on your projects, and you say, these are the gaps that we are seeing, they can provide that kind of feedback on the gaps that they see. That's our job right now as people who work in this professional sphere of healthcare, is just you need to find those experts and you need to say very directly upfront, I'm aware of this history, I'm aware of these experiences and these perspectives, and I want to make sure that we are addressing these barriers. And the more people that are brought in, the more opportunities for collaboration that exist, and the more recognition there is that Indigenous worldviews can constitute their own form of expertise, the more that we break down these barriers and the more that we bring about a just and fair world.
This highlight is part of a Methods Matter webinar from the BC Support Unit's Methods Clusters. Learn more at bcsupportunit.ca.